Alright, I got my left blinker on. I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to accelerate, get onto the entrance ramp, acceleration lane, and then eventually the merge. This is the acceleration part. Entrance ramp, acceleration part, and then I've got the merge lane. Left blinker still on. I'm going to look over my left shoulder. And once the line goes from solid to dotted, I'm going to go ahead and change lanes. Gradually accelerate through my lane change. Alright, now I'm going to take this next exit, so I'm going to go ahead and stay in the right lane. Check the area around the vehicle, in front of you, behind you, next to you. Exit only. I'm going to put my right blinker on. I'm going to accelerate through. Speed limit 65 miles an hour. Now when I take this exit, 45 miles an hour is going to be the highest, safest speed I can take this exit at. So I still have my right blinker on. Check my rear view. Alright. Cover my brake. Make sure that you aren't driving too fast. Make sure that you stay at 45 miles an hour. Now keep in mind, you want to make sure you're careful, but not too cautious to where you slow traffic down behind you, become a road hazard, and cause an accident. Alright, as I'm coming out of this curve, on this on this flyover here, I'm going to put my left blinker on because this lane continues through as an exit lane. I don't want to exit, I want to get on the highway. So I'm going to look over my left shoulder, gradually change lanes, check my rear view mirror, check the space around me, make sure I maintain a proper speed between myself and the vehicle in front of me. Alright, now what I'm going to do here, folks, is I'm going to go ahead and change lanes into the center lane. Alright, so I'm going to put my left blinker on. Now again, let me backtrack. Keep in mind, you see the three cars in front of us? If the black Mercedes and the white Dodge on the far left decide they want to change lanes into the middle lane, the vehicle on the right, in other words, this black Mercedes in front of me, has to yield the right of way to the vehicle that's in the left lane. Left lane always has right of way, or should be given right of way. I've got my left blinker on. I'm going to look over my left shoulder. I'm going to accelerate through my lane change. Alright, take my blinker off, check my rear view mirror, and I'm good to go. Now again, you want to make sure you're scanning traffic to the right, to the left, maintain a proper speed, appropriate following distance, 2 to 4 seconds or greater depending on traffic, weather, those types of variables. Alright, so the space directly in front of me is now clear, space behind me is clear, to my left is clear, to my right, obviously there's some vehicles. Now here you're going to have 3 lanes. The right lane eventually ends. There's a sign telling you that the right lane ends, but there are cars merging from the left, so you have to be careful because oftentimes these vehicles in the left that are merging in want to take an exit, and so what they'll do is they'll cut across from the far left lane all the way to the exit lane. Now notice this merges, so I've got to cover my brake and slow down and let the car in the right lane or to the right of me merge. They should have merged earlier, but they didn't. Now you've got traffic that's merging onto the highway. There is a RV in the center lane, so I've got under normal circumstances I would change lanes. I can't. There's a car next to me. Now I'm having to slow down to let the vehicle in front of me merge. They should be accelerating and they're not. That's what creates problems. 65 miles an hour, I am traveling at 45 right now because I had to slow down to let that van in. Alright, so again, you adjust your speed accordingly, right? Not a big deal. I understand that the van was trying to be cautious, but again, there is a point where if you're not attentive or you're overcautious, you become a road hazard. I had to drive or slow down from 65 miles an hour down to under 45 to let that vehicle merge. Now again, had I planned ahead, I would have been able to switch over to the center lane. The dilemma was that there were 2 or 3 vehicles in the center lane, so I wasn't able to change. The space next to me to my left was not open. And then I also had to slow down I'm going to have to change lanes here, folks. So let me go ahead and put my left blinker on. I have to slow down and gradually change lanes. Alright. Now the reason I'm having to change lanes is because this is an exit lane only. I'm not taking this exit, I'm taking the next exit. Now notice again, I'm having to let off the accelerator to increase the space between myself and the vehicle in front of me. In doing so, I'm traveling about 9 miles below the posted speed limit, mainly because the RV in the right lane is traveling at about 10 miles below the posted speed limit, 8, 9, 10 miles below the posted speed limit. I can't pass them because I'm going to go ahead and take this next exit, so it doesn't make sense for me to increase risk and exposure by passing. Not only that, it's very likely that I would have to exceed the speed limit in order to make the pass before my exit, so it doesn't make sense for me to put myself at risk or anybody else at risk. Now I've got my right blinker on, I'm going to look over my shoulder, right shoulder, I'm going to gradually change lane. Or actually, I'm not going to change lanes. I apologize. I'm gonna take this exit. Notice the truck. See how they're crossing the median? Because I hadn't planned ahead. Once the line goes from solid to dotted, then I can go ahead and get over into the right lane because that's where I'm going. And I'm going to look over my shoulder. I'm going to accelerate through. All right, I've got to watch out because there were cars in the right lane. I needed to pull in the gap. So I've got my right blinker on. I'm going to exit to the right. If you stay in the left lane, then you have to go northbound on this particular interstate, but I'm heading south. So once again, you notice how the vehicle in front of me, the space between us, the gap increases and decreases. Right now I'm doing 32 miles an hour. And part of that is because the RV in front of me is heavier. It does take them a little bit more time to travel uphill. Left blinker on, look over my left shoulder. There are vehicles coming in, but there is space. I'm going to look over my shoulder. I'm going to gradually change lanes, check my rear view, and I'm covering my brake. I'm going down a hill, the right lane ends. More importantly, and you can't see it right now, but there is a police officer that pulled over a vehicle in the shoulder area. So there's a lot going on, folks. Again, it's important that you're looking ahead. Always look ahead. You notice that the visibility, my line of sight is limited because of the RV. You see the police officer, the construction truck. I'm going to put my left blinker on. I'm going to look over my left shoulder. I'm going to start looking for a gap, and I'm going to increase or decrease my speed accordingly so that I can pull in, merge in. There again, you have to also be cognizant of the vehicle in front of you. I'm going to look over my left shoulder, gradually change lanes. Now I'm going to accelerate. Now notice the RV is going to try to change lanes again. I'm going to slow down. Not really sure why they're having to change lanes. We're on a multi-lane road. They should have really stayed in the right lane, but I'm assuming that part of that was because they, you know, by traveling in the right lane, in particular when you're on an interstate where there's a bunch of construction, there's cars merging in, entering and exiting the highway, there's construction vehicles, so it's probably safer for the driver of that RV, who's pulling that trailer, by the way, to sit in the center lane. It allows them more options. So that move on their part, I think, was smart in that it allows them more options and it minimizes their risk. Now again, I slowed down to go ahead and allow them to merge in. So you want to make sure that you're aware of that. In other words, aware of your surroundings. All right, I've got traffic next to me. No one in the right lane, but as I mentioned, I'm going to go ahead and stay in the center lane because the right lane, you're going to have construction vehicles. You've got that cement barrier. You can see that. That's a temporary cement barrier because this whole area is under construction. I don't like to drive, just as a personal note, I don't like to drive too close to those barriers. You literally have inches of space between your vehicle, the side of your vehicle, and those barriers. And not that I am not a skillful driver, but if you know, if there's ever any crosswinds or anything like that, you can get slammed into those barriers. So for me, it just makes more sense to travel in the center lane. Again, proper following distance. Notice how close we are to the vehicles next to us. So again, it's important that you're aware of the space around you. Speed limit is 70 miles an hour. I'm actually doing 58 miles an hour. I don't want to get any closer to the vehicle in front of me. I want to be cognizant of the cars behind me. Alright, now that it's cleared up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and put my left blinker on. Now I'm going to exit, but I'm going to exit about 2 or 3 miles down the road. So I'm going to look over my left shoulder. I'm going to accelerate through my lane change. And there you go. Accelerate through, check your mirrors. I'm in the left lane. Notice the grass barrier to the left of me. See the truck that just changed lanes in front of me. Notice the truck in the center lane. Traffic ahead of me is actually braking. So right now I'm looking about 1/4 mile ahead. Now keep in mind that obviously my line of sight is a bit obstructed, not only because of the truck in front of me, but because I was traveling uphill a little bit. So those factors come into play when you're scanning the road to the left and to the right. In other words, you might be coming around hills or curves, and so your visibility is going to be limited. Now I'm going to exit in about 1.5 miles, so I'm going to start changing lanes, or I'm going to change lanes now. Look over my right shoulder, gradually change lanes. Watch the vehicles in front of me. Now the reason I'm doing that is because traffic is getting a little heavier. If I wait, it may be difficult for me to change lanes, or I may be unable to change lanes. So I'm planning ahead of time. I know that I'm going to exit about 1.5 miles down the road, so it's better for me to go ahead and change lanes now. So you're probably thinking, okay, well then why not switch all the way over to the right lane? Well, because there are cars that are going to be merging in up ahead, and it does create a bit of a hazard. So I'm going to go ahead and wait in the center lane. Once we get past that entrance, I will have enough space to go ahead and change lanes. Notice the truck next to me in the left lane. That silver vehicle is driving a little too close to the car in front of it, pulling up kind of fast. All right, so space next to me, to the left and to the right, fairly clear. Now, if you notice, cars are going to start merging onto the interstate. I'm going to plan my change of lane now. I've got my right blinker on. I'm going to try to fall in behind. Well, actually, no, they're pulling in a little too slow. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and accelerate, look over my right shoulder, and make my lane change. All right, once I complete the lane change, take my blinker off. You notice there how I had a choice. I could have either slowed down to pull in behind that vehicle or sped up. Make sure that you're not breaking the speed limit when you're doing that. But the reason I didn't slow down is because they were actually merging onto the highway. I've got my right blinker on, by the way, merging onto the highway too slow, which would have created a problem. All right, I've got my right blinker on. I'm looking over my right shoulder. I'm exiting. I'm going to need to get into the right lane because I'm going to turn right about a half mile up ahead. So I'm going to look over my right shoulder, cover my brake, slow down. And the reason I slowed down through this lane change is because the vehicles in front of me were slowing down.